Newsfirst, NewsLine with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And a jolly good morning to you. Very good morning. This is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And today is rather a somber and important start to the day, because it is the Capital Maharaja Group's response to the prevailing drought conditions in our country. And the Sirasa Shakti Newsfirst TV 1 Sahana Yatra has begun this morning, and this is an effort to give some relief to those affected by the drought. As usual, our group has got all our collection centres ready, and in this today, starting at 8:30, 4 centres are available to receive donations of especially water. Water is the key element that we are hoping to collect lots of today, starting at 8:30 this morning. And there are 4 collection centres, from our Department Studios complex in Panipitya to the Stein Studio complex in Ratmalana off Borupana Road, and the Harrison building in Dali Road, and of course the Sirasa Studios in Dawson Street, here next door to the Capital Maharaja head office in Dawson Street. So 4 centres, and gladly awaiting the receipt of your donations to help those affected by the drought. Water is what we are after in the main today, apart from sugar, dal and packets of powdered milk. And we always respond expeditiously, and we're off the mark straight away, for which we have international recognition. We look forward to receiving your donations, and we'll be collecting them for 2 days before dispatching them on Saturday to those affected in the drought areas. And this morning, joining us on our set is a debut novelist, complete with her book, Song of the Sun God. And to tell us all about that and a bit more, and especially about 2 forthcoming books, is Shankari Chandran. Shankari, good morning to you, and welcome to Newsfirst Newsline.
Good morning, Faraz. Thank you so much for having me.
And it's a great pleasure having you on here. Your book, Song of the Sun God, your debut novel.
It is. It is my first but not my last novel.
Good, excellent. Well, what's it about, Shankari?
The Song of the Sun God is about 3 generations of a Sri Lankan Tamil family.
Okay.
And it follows their lives from independence through to the end of the Civil War. And it looks at the choices that they make in order to survive the war and the consequences of those choices.
So it's a novel, but it is based in sort of reality.
It is. I think all fiction is grounded in some reality, in the reality of the author. And but as I'm very keen to sort of say to people when I get calls from my father or my mother saying, "But darling, this didn't actually happen to us,"
Right.
I say, "Amma, that's because it's fiction."
Right.
So it is grounded in a reality, but the personalities and the characters, some of them are based on people that I know. In particular, the 2 main characters are drawn very closely from my own grandparents. But the narrative itself and the plot is fiction.
And you're of Sri Lankan origin.
We are of Sri Lankan origin, Sri Lankan Tamil, and my family left in the early 70s, or one portion left in the early 70s, and then the rest of them left after 1983.
When did were you born here in Sri Lanka?
I was born in London and raised in Australia.
Right, okay. Soon we'll be going and joining, we've got a little message about our drought and relief effort about that, but perhaps we could run that now then. Okay, let's go and join them. Let's go and have a look at these visuals now. As we can see on the screen now, water is a big problem, and on our Government program we came across people who have had to walk many kilometers just to get their water. And as you can see, what this lady is doing on the screen there, she's digging up a little bit so that she can get some water. There's all sorts of attendant problems. The crops are wilted, and the hardship. There are some people, you can see how dry that is, and there are some people who walk even up to 15 kilometers to get that most precious resource, water, something that we tend to take for granted in our urban areas. And once again, to remind you, our viewers, we have 4 collection points, and they are the Parnama Studios complex in Panipitia, the Stein Studios in Ratmalana off Borupana Road, the Harrison's building in Dali Road, and of course the Sirasa Studio and offices next door to the Maharaja head office in Dawson Street in Colombo, which is where we are broadcasting live this morning from. And back to our guest, thank you for your patience, Shankari. So, you were born in London, brought up in Australia, and you can't let go of Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it has definitely gripped me and my generation, I think, from the beginning. We grew up listening to the stories of our parents and our grandparents and their memories of Sri Lanka, really beautiful memories.
And did you make regular trips back?
As children we did.
Right.
We came and we would spend these wonderful summers with our grandparents, and often our parents would leave us there, so all the cousins would converge there, and our parents would go to India or they would see their friends. And I have very beautiful memories of us playing in my grandmother's garden, in her house.
And where was this? It was this.
This was in Colombo 7.
That's right. Okay.
Yes.
And have you, since it's become possible, have you visited the former conflict areas?
We have, yeah, we have actually. For us, we didn't return to Sri Lanka. Once the war began, after July '83, we never came back. Then my father came back in 2005 to do tsunami relief work, and he has since sort of developed a relationship with the country again. And my husband and I came back in 2014 for the first time.
I see.
And we travelled the north and the east, and we spent a lot of time in Jaffna, going back to our ancestral villages, and trying to find the homes of our grandparents and our great-grandparents.
Did you find?
We did find some. We did, and we found people who still knew our people randomly. I remember looking for my father's and my grandfather's house, and we stopped an old man on a bicycle, and he had a sarong, and he was riding a bicycle with 2 large canisters of milk on top of the bike, balanced precariously.
Yeah.
And this man must have been about 100 years old.
Right.
And we stopped him randomly and said to him, "Do you know this house?" I gave him my sort of family lineage and said, "Do you know where they are?" And he knew exactly where they are. And he said, "You're Nadana Chandran's daughter. Come with me."
Oh, right.
So then he's riding his bike, and we're following him in the car.
Okay.
And he took us to the house. And the old neighbours were still there. So,
right, so that must have been...
it was beautiful. It was wonderful.
a very happy moment.
Yeah, and there were also times where it was very painful. You see the destruction, and you see the buildings with the bullet holes, and the jungle that has come in on these old...
You saw these for the first time in 2014.
In 2014, so in
This is
Delipale...
5 years after the end of the war.
5 years after. And Delipale was still very much a wreck at that time. Very difficult to navigate around. Very difficult to locate anything except the temple at that time. Yeah, and that was hard to see. We went to Pelopole and my husband had been there 30 years prior to return his father's ashes to his grandmother's home.
So he's also of Sri Lanka?
He is of Sri Lankan origin, and he had brought back his own father's ashes to his grandmother's home, which, as you can imagine, would have been very powerful and deeply sad. And so we went back to this home, and all that remained of it was a portion of the front facade.
The rest had been bombed out?
The rest had been destroyed. And there was a small little almost what you'd call a pop-up temple. You know, someone had rebuilt this small temple there, and that was very moving in a sense. The first thing that people were trying to rebuild was something to hold on to, some kind of signifier of faith.
Do you all, have you retained your ancestral lands, and will you build something on there again, or what will you do? Or do you want to retain a link?
Will I personally?
Yeah.
I would like to retain a link with Sri Lanka, with the north and the east. I don't want to, you asked me about land, I don't want to own land in the north and the east, because I want the Tamil people of the north and the east, the people who were here, who lived here, the people who lost family here, I want them to have space, and space and land and home is important. And I was fortunate enough to have a home in Australia where my children are. So you asked me, do I want a link through land? No, but I will always feel a link through culture and through a really primal sort of tribal connection. And
you've come back in 2014 after several years' absence, and as you follow the news and so on, how do you feel? Do you think that there's progress being made? I mean, it's obviously a 30-plus year devastation. Can't be built overnight.
No, it can't be rebuilt overnight. I mean, now Sri Lanka's future is about reconstruction and reconciliation. And reconciliation is really about truth-telling and ensuring that there are processes for accountability, processes through which people can understand that the rule of law now exists and that it will be enforced, and you can have all the constitutional reform that you want.
How do you... it's not often that I get a chance to ask this question from a member of the minority who left the country before the Troubles.
Yes.
And then got caught out and watched the Troubles from outside, because you were already out. But then you've come back. And how is it viewed out there, the diaspora? People like yourselves out there with a link to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
How do you all view the efforts being made in Sri Lanka now?
I'm not going to speak for the entire diaspora because it's large, and I think that there are many voices and many perspectives
But one
on
such
that.
perspective.
I think from my perspective, particularly having been back there, I think that people are pleased and are profoundly relieved that the war is over, but I think that there is a sense that much more could be done at a faster pace. And I think that there has to be, I think people want to see that political will, not just that political rhetoric.
Because you can see with the relief efforts that we as a group engage in, people who come out and help us, there are no communal and racial and religious boundaries. People help because those people out there, somebody out there needs help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the whole beauty of Sri Lankanness, to me, at least anyway, because Sri Lankans are extremely good at giving, and it's almost a fine art. But they do, and it's you can see it from family level upwards. They're always giving, helping, giving. And so I don't know if it's a national pastime, but certainly Sri Lankans are very good at giving.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, is beyond any sort of communal or racial barriers.
Beyond ethnic lines, absolutely.
Indeed.
I do. And I think that that's, when you look at literature and you look at this novel, they're not just a Sri Lankan Tamil family. They are a human family.
Indeed.
They are a family, and they care about the things that you and I, that all families care about. They want the same things. They fear the same things. They have the same regrets and the same love for their children that all people have, regardless of ethnicity. And that's why I love to write. I think more than seeking to define difference, writing brings out what it is that we have in common with each other, that human experience.
So, what prompted you? Did you sit there one day and you're a lawyer, you worked for Eleanor Overy, and what was it? You headed their social justice, international social justice program.
I did.
So, did you pitch up to office one morning and say, do you know, I'm going to write a book?
Yeah.
And then start a book?
I'll see you all later.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that.
No.
No, I had always loved writing as a child. Right. In my 20s, I had done a little bit of creative writing.
Right.
But nothing, never committed to a large project.
Right.
And then when I finally had my fourth child and we migrated back from London to Sydney, to my home, I took a sort of break from paid work, as it were, and thought this would be a good opportunity to try to fulfill that lifelong dream of writing a novel. And this first novel is very much a first novel. I think all South Asian writers write that first novel. They write it for their families. It's a love letter to my family.
Is your eldest is your daughter, Elora?
Elora, yes.
Is she up to reading this book?
Not yet for us. Firstly, Elora's going to love that she got mentioned on national TV. Secondly, shout out to Elora. Secondly, the children, my husband took a beautiful photo actually in Sydney. A box of my books had arrived and he took a photo of all 4 children holding my book and pretending to read it, which was gorgeous. But they're not up to reading it yet because it's about family and love, but it's also about trauma for us, and they are too young to read that. I want them to read it in time because I wrote it for them. It's based on the memories that our family and our community has of Sri Lanka, and those memories are beautiful and they're strong and they're also very painful. And so I tried through this novel, to the best of my ability, to create some kind of record of that for them. And in time, in the fullness of time, when they're ready, I will ask them to read it. And then they'll probably do what all children do and say, "No way, Mummy."
Well, they'll probably read it on some tablet of some sort.
They will. They'll wait for the movie. Maybe they'll wait for the movie.
The cover. Look, let me show you this cover. It's beautiful, actually. There you go. That's the cover of the book. And there you go. That's a better shot there. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so kind of flowery, and I'm tempted to say that this is such a beautiful and a splendid cover, and it's also flowery. It'll look good and grace the clubs that we have in Colombo, like various flowery clubs and so on. But they're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. Who designed the cover?
It was designed by Pereira Hussein, my publisher.
Okay.
Not me. I have artistic talent, but not of that kind.
It says here, in a time of upheaval, can Nala keep her family together? Nala is the principal character?
She is.
Indeed. At the capital city, a little boy watches a monk wrap himself in orange flames. A village in Jaffna, a little girl is bursting with life. It's brilliant. Nala and Rajan are on the brink of an exciting future. They will meet, marry and fall in love. They will set up house and have children. They will map out their future together, but destiny has other plans for them. Will they survive? Well, you need to read the book and find out. It's really super. But you're already going ahead with your second book, isn't it?
Yes, my second book is coming out in 6 months' time.
Yes.
So that's actually ready to go as well.
Right.
It'll come out in Australia, and it's called The Barrier.
The Barrier.
The Barrier.
Okay.
It's quite a different offering.
Is it based on Sri Lanka? Or?
It is set in Sri Lanka again. So as you know, I can't seem to leave Sri Lanka.
You can't seem to leave.
Yeah, I can't. I love it here. It's set in a future, though. It's a futuristic political thriller set in 2040, and it imagines a world destroyed by contagion, by disease, and by religious wars. And the politics of the world play out on our beautiful island.
And have you brought in any mention of that wonderful product that we have in our country? It's called tea.
There may be some token reference to it. Maybe.
Perhaps a tea board ought to get in touch with all sorts of novelists and promote the use of our brand, Ceylon Tea. But you, I just want to figure out or work out how much you feel for Sri Lanka. And usually I ask this question: when you're landing in, coming into land in Colombo, and if it's during the day, you usually look out the window, and the descent started, and you look out the window, and you see the palm trees swaying and so on, and the coastline coming up. Do you feel do you feel different at the time?
I have, on both my returns to Sri Lanka, arrived in the middle of the night.
Okay.
So I have the next day, because both times we have then headed out immediately.
Right.
The first time we headed north along that coastline, which was so beautiful.
So by the time you reached Kilinochchi, you must have been
covered a lot of ground. We'd covered a lot of ground. We slept and then drove. So we drove during the day, but there's something really powerful about heading north and heading into Jaffna. The first time we did that, when we crossed Elephant Pass, and you do see the trees and the silhouette of the trees. They're so majestic, and they move together in the wind. There's and the colour of the earth is, it's just as your parents describe it to you. It's quite tremendous, and it did feel there was a sense of coming home. It's quite a tribal and a strange, inexplicable feeling, and I think in books 1, 2, and even in 3, I do try to explore it and understand that.
And that's it, isn't it? It is that magic, and it is that ambience that a 30-year war tried to destroy. We saw, obviously, as a country, we're all happy that we are back together again.
Absolutely.
And we can now recreate those magical moments and that magical ambience. Can you remember what you were doing when you heard that the leader of the terrorist group had been killed or eliminated, or in short, that the war had come to an end?
Had ended. I can't remember what I was doing at that precise time, but I can remember feeling really mixed feelings. Faraz, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm never glad when anyone is dead.
Yeah.
There's, I'm a human being, and I feel no joy in anybody's death. I felt relieved that there was an end. I felt profoundly sad about the cost of that end, because it didn't just end with a peace treaty or a UN team.
That's right, that's right.
It ended very differently, and that, for the Tamils of Sri Lanka and for the diaspora, was very hard to take, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
And of course now we have people living in harmony, restarting their lives.
We do.
And there is hope once more.
Absolutely. When you build a nation on honesty and truth and equality, there's always hope.
Indeed, indeed. Do you think that your children are too young, I suppose, now? So Have they been here?
We brought Siddharth, our
Yes.
youngest,
Yeah.
because we have 4. We can't leave all 4. It's difficult to leave all 4 with our grandparents for a sustained period of time. It feels unfair to do that to our grandparents or the parents. So we brought one to even the odds for them a little bit.
Right.
And he loved Sri Lanka, and he's very proud of the fact that he's the only one that's been here.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Well, we haven't forgotten Kailash and Harry C. And of course we've mentioned Siddharth. And there you go. Mum is here. She's obviously missing everyone, isn't she? But I want to know, what did your husband say to you when you decided to write a novel and then buzz off to wherever in pursuit of your
My third novel.
your journalistic sort of genes? What did he say? Did he know you were going to leave him? His 4 children. Oof, Jack.
I haven't left him permanently. I am coming back eventually.
Yes, but will he be there in one state after looking after 4 children?
I think he might be there self-medicating for us, is what he might be doing at home.
Right.
He is a wonderful husband, and this first book is dedicated to him.
Right.
Because he has really believed in me as a writer when many people wouldn't. Why? How would you expect a lawyer to perhaps, yes, aspire to writing a book, but not necessarily ever finish it? And I was able to do that with his support. I think he's always loved a little bit of crazy anyway.
Right.
And then when I finished the first book, and I said to him, what about writing a second one? He said, well, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? And so here we are, book 3, and you won't believe this, well, maybe you will. It was his idea for me to leave the children and to go, because I talked him through the plot about my 3rd novel, which is a far more complicated novel than my first 2. It's still set in Sri Lanka, but more in 2009, which is a complex and interesting time in Sri Lanka's history and in the region's history. And when I talked him through the plot, he said to me 2 days later, he said, I've been thinking about this, and I know that you won't ask for this, so I want to offer this. How about I keep the children and you go to Sri Lanka and research that novel? Let's do it right. So he's
what's
a keeper.
his wonderful chap's name?
As my auntie said to me yesterday, he's a keeper, isn't he?
What's his name?
His name is Haran Siva. Haran.
Well, there you go. Well, wonderful that he's put himself in the deep end, and but you also write pieces on parenting, don't you?
I do. I started I say that I found my writing voice by writing small pieces on Mamma Mia, which is a wonderful lifestyle and news blog in Australia. And that gave me the confidence to then, when you blog, you write a 500-word piece. And doing a few of those gave me the confidence to attempt 130,000 words.
Wonderful. I wish you well, Shankari Chandran, with your writing, and do tell your publishers we love the cover. It's brilliant and nice and flowery. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your story with Newsline. It's been a pleasure having you, and do look us up when you're next in town.
I will. Faraz, next time I'm going to interview you about the Bond issue.
Wonderful. See, you've been reading. There you go, folks. The Bond is well known all over the world, not only here. But on a serious note, Sri Lanka is in the middle of a devastating drought, and our component members of the Capital Maharaja Group, Sirasa, Shakti and Newsfirst TV1 have embarked on the Sahana Yatra program, where we're collecting relief items, especially water, in 4 different locations. And those locations again are the De Palma Studio Complex in Panipitia, the Stein Studios complex off Borupana Road in Ratmalana, the Harrison Building in Dali Road in Colombo, and also at the Sirasa studios and offices next door to the Maharaja head office in Dawson Street in Colombo. And we're looking, especially at the beginning, for water, but we're also looking for sugar, dal, and packets of powdered milk. And like I'm sure my colleague Bangalajai Sekhar said on the Patty Keller program, this is much required items to provide relief to those caught up in this tragedy, really, which is the drought that has affected our country. And on that note, it's time to say thank you to Shankari Chandran, and thank you for watching Newsline. Do take care, and we look forward to receiving your donations. And on that note, we wish you a very good day ahead. Take care and God bless.